Hey friends, it's TJ, and you're listening to Tea with TJ, where our love for tea, conversation, and self-improvement intersect. So let's take a deeper dive into my cup and let's have a chat. Hey friends, it's TJ. Welcome back to another episode of Tea with TJ, and today I have Calvin Thompson. Yes. Yeah. I just realized also that this is, I think, the second time we've encountered each other in person. Yeah, like literally the second time.
Overdue.
Yeah,
for a long time.
Welcome to the pod.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah.
So quickly for our folks listening and watching, can you just tell us your story?
Sure. So, I am originally from Aiken, South Carolina. We just realized we're both South Carolinians. Mm-hmm. So, hey, cousin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, originally, but also born in Augusta, Georgia. So, born on the cusp of Georgia and Carolinas. Born in Georgia, raised in Carolina. Mm-hmm. And started in the arts very young. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say like kindergarten, doing like reading poetry and stuff out loud. And then anytime I got to open my mouth in a choir or something like that, I was like, yay, music and all the things. And not until college did I realize I wanted to actually pursue a career in the arts. So, say my sophomore year in college, I booked my first professional theater job working. So I started working then and moved to New York. I was about 24. Yeah, went to AMDA and did that route, and I've been in New York ever since. I did about a good 11 years here. Went out west, did LA, to right before, literally a year before pandemic. So I was like, Yep. And so, it's just like rolling with the punches, but life brought me back here, back to good old NYC. And so I've been back since 2022.
Gotcha. Nice.
And that's been my journey to like just kind of nomadically finding myself as an artist.
I love that. Yeah. I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I mentioned that to them because I was saying how I think in my adult life I've realized that I would consider myself very nomadic. Yeah. That I'm totally okay to live out of a suitcase and just kind of exist and floating through, through the country or through the world. I love that.
Yeah.
I am curious about two things before we jump in. Because just thinking about your story, and I'm like, this is the connective tissue. So you went to AMDA, and I think this is how we got connected. I remember our first encounter was at the Motown audition. And back in the day for that first national tour. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yes. And I was there with my friend Kiari at the time, and that's how we got introduced. And and I think we followed each other on social media shortly after that.
Because I feel like I know that I've known you for years.
Yeah. But even in that moment, I felt like I've known you. Like, even though that was the first time we've met, I feel like there was something there. And as I'm getting to know more about you and encounter you more, things are starting to just make sense and line up. Because even the Southerner thing, I'm like, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Cousin.
So when we were talking about topics for the episode today, the thing that kind of like stuck out to you the most was the rejection. So I'm curious to know from you, what does rejection look like, both in your professional life as an actor, but also maybe like in your like everyday life, like outside life?
what does rejection look like in my professional life and in my everyday life? Well, you know, this industry is not an easy industry. You know, I have quite a bit of people that I don't know if you ever get those questions that are like, and no shade to anyone who have done this, but like random folk that'll be like, hey, I know somebody, either my son or my daughter, or so and so is like, I've never acted before, and I just want to take a, you know, and I'm like, okay, but do you really know what you're signing yourself up for? Yeah. And you know, I think that I'm gonna go backwards. Personally, I think that you know, no matter where you are from geographically, saying we're coming from the South, right? Black men coming from the South. So there's already that root of what this country has kind of tried to put on us, right? And trying to find out who we are with our own identity, but then to say, oh, you can't do that, you can't be that. And I it's funny enough, I'm getting into the rejection but also the acceptance part. Like, I remember I was working on a tour, the first tour that one of the only tours that I had done, but it was around 2008, and that was when Barack Obama, you know what I'm saying? And I remember I was the only black man in my cast. It was a very short cast, but I just remembered standing in the middle of my hotel room, and I was just like filled with so much pride, and I was like, wow, this is the first time I'm seeing that kind of tangible evidence that of what I could be more. But then to get to again, going back to the industry, and then them tell you, okay, well, you know, we see you as this, we see you as that, and no, you know, and you have to know what the vision is for your life. You have to often, and even this right here is like the closing of your eyes, so that way seeing what you see for your life. And let me do I statements. I see from my own life, and so that way, you know, it's been tough, you know, sometimes when you really want certain things, or you really want certain jobs, and I think that life and experience has taught me to it's in the relaxation and the release of knowing who you are and trusting in all the cosmic and the divine movement that what is meant for you will be for you. I was literally working on a gig. Today's Saturday. Yes, Thursday. And they were some of the co-workers on this particular project was talking about this. She was from Kansas, and she was talking about the pastor at the church that she came from was they were kind of up in age, and they always wanted a child, and one of their members had unfortunately had been raped and had a child out of rape. But anyway, long story short, the blessing in that horrible circumstance was that she gave her child to the pastor and the wife. But in the desiring of wanting a child for their own self, in that moment, they themselves were able to conceive. And it was like, well, what is that? Why do especially sometimes with women and being like saying when your ability to conceive, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's when your body is in a relaxed state and you've let go of the thing, and it's like, so I was like, life, I hear you, I hear you, God.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's so, I mentioned this to you before we started recording, but this week I have been recording episodes for this season every day since Wednesday, and today's Saturday. And it's been very interesting that every guest that I've had thus far has brought into the conversation this kind of like spiritual connection or divine intervention or divinity, and how to achieve the things that you want out of life in your connection to those things, to those two things. Because even just yesterday with Stacy, who recorded, which I don't know where this is going to fall, but make sure you watch her episode. She was saying the exact same thing. So, and I love that, like, even in this moment, things are still somehow, connected. With this idea of trying to align yourself with the things that you want and desire, in kind of holding space for the rejection piece too. Where do you think you fall, or like what are some tools that are helpful for you when dealing with like rejection professionally?
I am literally currently going through a season. I was telling TJ before we started that it's been a very interesting season right now, because I don't know if maybe it's the Delulu right now that's telling me
that's fair.
that I wasn't rejected, but it's been I guess I'm looking at it as delay or like whatever. But yes, the tools that I use is grounding. Meditation, grounding and meditation is a huge, grounding, meditation, and prayer. So that's a spiritual practice in itself that I feel like I hold for myself. I always try to, if I don't do it daily, I try to at least tap in like 4 or 5 times a week. But just to every morning come back to gratitude and my why, and putting my feet on the ground and saying like, okay, this is where I'm at today. And this is what I have control over, and everything else I yield over to my belief. I believe in God, so that is my belief system. I'm a heavy believer in community. So knowing that I have community and that brings me balance. And I often, I'm beginning better with that piece, that tool to say, you know what? Because when I get so tight about, I'm supposed to be there. I was supposed to be here by now. And that particular project was supposed to be mine. It's like I get pulled back to the present with laughter and love, and just being like, be present with people who are trying to love on me. I was having a moment yesterday that I was looking at an old Chadwick Boseman interview, and he said something along the lines of love. And he said, I always, I'm brought back to not necessarily feeling like I need to feel love, but like, or not feel love, but I need to love on people. I need to love on. That brings me back to being present. And he's like, at that time he was speaking that he didn't have the traditional like wife and kids family thing, but he was like, I have cousins, I have like, I love on, and if that is a driving force for me to be like, I need to love you. So I think that fills up our cup and replenishes us in such a way where, because there's no formula, and there's no. Sometimes you could not know why certain things go. Literally, I went on an audition. Say about a month ago now. It was one of my first in-persons this year, and literally, I was like, I felt good about it because I went to the audition, and I think I knew not I think I knew. I did know the director, who was an associate artistic director of this particular theater. I feel like I'm putting business out there.
No,
it's fine.
I get it.
Right, it's fine. Anyway, I went into this audition and I feel like I killed it. And I say I killed it in the sense of like, I went to the room and there was such a light and gravity, and they knew. They kind of had me on their peripheral of like what I had been doing over the past year. They knew like I'm on hold for something coming up this fall, so I was like, yeah. And this particular project would have went right before said gig, so I was like, oh yes, please, booking behind booking, and I've been praying for that. I've been praying for being booked back to back. But then so I did the audition. It felt, they was like, really good work. Can we make some adjustments? Did the adjustments, blah, 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 blah. Then she said, okay, great. Call back tomorrow. Are you available tomorrow? Ask me. I said, yeah, see you tomorrow. I said I want to joke.
No, I love it.
So I left and went home, went on about my day, had me a merry old day. And I'm on my phone. Boop, boop. Checking email. Boop, boop. Boop.
Just refreshing.
Boop.
Yeah.
Boop. 12 o'clock. Boop. 8 a.m. next day. Boop. 10 a.m. next day. Boop. 5 p.m. next day. Boop. I said, it's a no. Y'all Randy Jackson me. It was a no, dog. Okay.
Randy Jackson.
Got you right.
Yeah.
Okay, ouch. But I was like, again, maybe that's the delulu that I have. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
It wasn't meant for me. And again, I maybe that's just my perspective of saying, speaking about alignment. It goes hand in hand. I think that rejection and alignment. You can't have you can't have one without the other.
Right.
Yes, a no. And it's funny. What was that thing that went viral a couple of years ago about Lady Gaga? She was. I had no with it. It's whatever the no.
There could be 100 people in a room, and then all you need is just one. Yes.
But baby, give me the 99, so it make me excited about the one.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just getting to his cousin. Yes. Give me that yes of after them no's, and it's a part of saying that is what is meant for me. I saw a dear friend and colleague. She just put on her social media about saying like, because when you try to force one of those no's, and I don't know if you've ever been in a project being like, why am I here? These people are not for me. These people don't see me. These people don't value me. So I was like, actually, when you going to, so if it is a no, God bless whoever got that gig, because maybe I'm not supposed to be, or maybe it's better meant for somebody else to be a part of that role. Low key, I was like, I did actually say, I was like, they tried to make me, but it script wise, it said 20s. And I said, thank y'all for still seeing it. Seeing it for your boy. But I also was like, a dear friend of mine said, Calvin, look at the roles that normally come your way. You have portrayed, like, it gives you, it low key, the things that are meant for you, and that you look at the resume and the roles, and it kind of tells you information, right? He said you normally play people who are in leadership.
I was going to interject and say that just being witness to your social media feed since I've met you at that random Motown audition, all of the roles that I have seen pass your feed have been these very stoic characters, which I enjoy because I find myself in a similar position that like the leadership is oozing off of me, and that I very much have dad energy and like authoritative figure type of energy, and I had never encountered someone else that I could see also doing that, because usually, especially in the musical theater world, a lot of us that exist in that space, the people who book those jobs or who go up for those jobs are the Norm Lewises, are the Brian Sutton Mitchells, like those types of people. And I hadn't met anyone else in that, like, if we're like hierarching, you know, the types of roles in theater, I had never met anyone in that circle with me. So that was also like beautiful to watch and like see unfold in real time. I was like, I need to get to know this man. I need to get to know this man because I have questions. I want to see more of this. Yeah.
I really appreciate that. But also likewise. Likewise.
Thank you.
And when you just, and again, I think that the other part, what we were talking about, creative identity, which goes to your own identity. Once you know who you are, because leadership is not always about being authoritative and being able to execute and see, but also there's a bird's eye view that is important for leadership. There's kind of, you have to see big picture. There's sometimes of being like, I know how to stand back and let other, you know what I'm saying, and hold space for letting other people shine. That is what real leadership is, and that is also oozing off you. That's what I just, this podcast, I bow down. Is a wonderful quality. So I know that is also reflective in your work, that you know how to hold space, right?
Yeah.
So that is why I say that going back to that particular audition, that particular gig, I was like, God bless, because I was like, this role, I don't know if this is me. There's a lot of I don't know if it would that telling of that particular story, I don't know if like somebody would really believe that somebody's barking at me. I mean, not say barking at me, but as in an authoritative way, because I don't give that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Believe me, I get it. I get it.
Right. You got to know who you are. We talked about that.
Yeah.
It's the knowing who you are. Anyway, this is good. And this is good. This tea is great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Also, I love that everyone has been like loving the tea selection. Make sure to follow on Instagram to get those. But yeah, you brought up this kind of like subtopic that we had discussed before. So I just want to bring that to the table too, of this whole idea of figuring out your creative identity, what that means and what that looks like for you. And I think you kind of just touched on it for yourself. But I'm curious to know, like, what does that, in really standing in your truth as a creative and knowing your worth, your value, your position in the world, what power or authority does that give you when you walk into a room?
Well, knowing my worth and knowing who I am, and I've gotten it used to bother me. Early on in my career, I'll say, like an audition, literally, it is such a space. You cannot tell certain factors, whether you're too tall, too short, too this, too that. I used to, I have a mentor who would say, in the art form, instrumentalists, people who play instruments, they can take their instrument and put it in a case. When your instrument is this, we take the instrument into the space, but then when we leave the space, it's like, I'm still the instrument. And so you don't know how to compartmentalize, right? The time you take it, the criticism, personal. So, but I've been better with learning how to focus, say still instrument, but I'm also going to say instrument, and I'm going to give you the work. And this is the work that I've worked on, and I get to also be an artist, and I get to tell a story on today. And whether you like the story or not, it that has nothing to do with me, whether you like it or not. Jesse Norman, there was a clip that was going viral of about critique and criticism. And someone was asking her, well, how do you deal with, people who are reviewers and stuff like that? She was like, what in her grandeur, she said, what do I care for someone who comes in and they've not even paid for their ticket, and they come in and they critique this one night, this one experience. And then I was like, that is so real. It's like that this is this moment in time, and that you are getting to be in this experience with me. And sure, whether you like it or not, that's neither here nor there, but like, it's the truth of I can only show up in all 100% who I am in that day, in that moment, in that time, in my truth and authenticity. Whether you like it or not, that's not up to me.
That's very true. And it's something that I have been realizing over the years, the longer that I'm in this industry and doing this on a day-to-day basis. It's so imperative to know who you are before you walk into that room. Because, and I was just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, about how, yes, you're going in there to put a character on, right? Like you were putting this character on like clothes and presenting this work in this audition, or if you're doing a show 8 times a week or whatever it is. But if you don't know who you are before you do all of that, there's going to be some blurred lines, right? Some of that stuff can seep into your own life. You can start to pick up some of those habits from that character. Like there was a show that I did called Murder Ballad back in, 2017, I think it was. And I played an alcoholic. And sure enough, because I was not prepared for that show, that was the first time I had ever done it. It was a musical. It was like a 4-person musical. Some of that stuff that was happening in the show started to seep in for me. And this was before I was really in a place where I was like, oh, I have to be aware. I have to be conscious. I have to be protective of like me, so that I can put on this person, but then also release them and let them go.
Yes.
Because that whole experience was, I went through a whole bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Like within a matter of 2 days after that show had finished. And it wasn't a thing where like I was like becoming an alcoholic, but because of the show, like having to constantly it became second nature. And so when I got home and I was like, oh, wait, I'm doing this in my real life. I need to put this down. Like, this is not me. This is not me. This is Tom. This is not me. So I feel like sometimes you have to make sure that like you are fully aligned and you are fully protected and taken care of in some of those moments. You also said something, I'm trying to go back to it because I thought it was perfect and it was so juicy. You mentioned something, and I want to get a read on, so in dealing with rejection in the outside world and really knowing who you are and your position in the outside world, what does that look like to you? Because I think we've established and kind of figured out the entry point of like an artist and that perspective of like working in and living in that. But how do you protect yourself like in the outside world just as a Black man? Because I feel like that is a whole separate thing than like walking into a performance space.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. How do I protect myself?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you was just even speaking about as an artist, when the lines blur.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like audition spaces, and then there's like actual when you book the gig, you're doing the gig, and so I'm kind of lumping all of it into the one. But again, I have learned over time to, like I said, that grounding in that grounding in that meditation practice, and so I can go back to one being me, and to say, oh, this is who I am, and really ask myself those questions and say, what is your why for being here today? What makes you happy? Why am I here to tell this story? And especially also as I love that you just brought up being a Black man. I think that being a Black man and an artist and one who do theater, that because the industry will really try to, if you don't know who you are, they will really try to make you be a monolith. And it's like, I have many different colors, I have many different things that, but also it's funny. When was that? That was about a year ago. That I had one particular, and it's funny. People have to go back and do the digging, because everything that's come. I'm one of those. I've had a debate with my reps.
Yes.
That I was like, I sometimes I sit with certain pieces, and that sometimes everything that's commercial, or everything that, like, it doesn't, just because it's commercial and just because it's a hit don't mean it resonates with me.
That's true. That is true.
And there's been some stuff, and there's been I won't say I'm on podcasts. Maybe one day when I got big bucks, I can be like a Elaine Stritch and just say what the hell I want to say. But one particular show that's very popular to the masses, and I was like, ooh, I don't know what that is, but for me, vibrationally, I was like, it's a no for me, dog. It's already
yes.
And so then it came across my audition queue, and I was like, but wait, I've not seen said show, but my peers, certain peers who I highly respect, I kind of bounced it off of them, and it was like, it didn't sit well with me. And I was like, okay. But then I sat, and then I went and sat and looked at the material myself, and I was like, what? I have to do. And I said, no.
And I'm curious. I feel like I know what your list is, but we'll have a conversation offline.
Offline. Amen. But yes, and don't get me wrong, like, there's some things that I think that you can tell certain stories, that, because and it's interesting, especially as again, Black creators, Black artists. Some people may even say like, oh, why do you want to tell certain stories that is like, here we go, slavery. I am not one of those being like that say like, ooh, don't portray a slave or because we are literally in a time where they're trying to erase our history. They're removing certain things from our history books. So again, I'm not that we need to always portray servants and people, but what does excite me, and if there's a soft pitch out there, is please somebody write a Nat Turner's Rebellion piece for me. Hello, somebody.
Look,
that come shake the table a little bit. You know what I mean?
I have thoughts and questions about that, but yes.
But I'm saying of like let's tell that story,
right?
Because how do you get to what was the thing August 5th a year ago where they would hit the chairs? Alabama, whatever, wherever that was. Anyway, shake the table so you know your history, and so anyway, all I mean by that is, you have to know who you are and know what kind of stories you want to tell. Unless you'll have them, and I say them and the powers that be, they'll try to make you and mold you into probably somebody who you don't want to be.
Yeah, I agree because there's definitely been a few moments where, and we had this conversation before we started, where there are certain things as a performer, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to say this out loud, but there are certain things that I don't want to do because I know that they are not for me. Yeah. And it's like we spoke earlier about how you will know what roles are right for you. Yeah. I had a friend years ago when I first moved here, and I was trying to pick his brain, and I was like, what should I be going after? Like, how do I know, and all of this stuff? Because in the training program, like, they throw everything at you. They're like, you can do anything, but the reality is that no, you can't. Yeah. And that's okay. And sometimes you don't want to do everything, and that's also okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But I was having this conversation with a friend like very early in my time in New York, and he told me something that still resonates with me today. He said, I was like, well, how do you know if like a role is right for you and blah blah blah? He was like, it will fit like a glove. Yeah. He was like, you'll know. Like, you will read the material, you will sing the song or whatever it is, and it will fit. Like, you will absolutely know. And then thinking about all of the roles that I've had, all of them fit extremely well. Like, extremely well. Yeah. Like, even I was having a conversation with someone this week on the podcast about my time as Caiaphas in Jesus Christ Superstar. And I remember in that audition room, it was me and two other guys, one of which who became my roommate later on the show. But in looking at them, I was like, no, this is mine. Like, this is mine. And not in an egotistical way, but in looking in the room and being where I was in that moment in time, I was like, no, this is for me. Yeah. This is for me. Like, it fits. Yeah. Yeah.
So No, go. I was when it's for you, like you said, that when it accentuates you, when it uplift it, and even you saying it fits like a glove, like when you know something that is form fitted for you, it shows you off in the best light, right? And you just triggered a memory of very early on in my career. I did a production of Rent. And with some people who are doing extremely well in their careers right now. I play Benny. And again, I've always musical theater, but I've always considered myself a little bit more present. I love the scene work. I love the acting work. So I commend those who are like musical theater heads. But so I was present because I was really asking to be so young and doing that role of Benny. I was really asking questions, and even maybe being so audacious to I'm trying to make it my own. Not until hindsight, it helped me realize, this particular production, the director for that particular gig was carbon copying the recent Broadway. And so I was literally asking for one of the Benny scenes. I think it was maybe the funeral scene. And I think it was like I was asking, I said, he gave me a direction of like, go from here to go from X place. And can I try? I was like, I just asked, can I try this? Or can I, like, I was asking my why, right? Or asking about, come on, the lesson about me be operating in space, right?
Yeah.
And he said, do it because I told you to do it. Like, how dare you ask me the question? And I just remember that was so traumatic for me. As again, I think I was like young. 2 or 3 years later, I got to work on my first August Wilson piece, and I got to work with one of my dear mentors, Clinton Turner Davis. He's old school, like Black theater, and come out of the Negro Ensemble Company, and like just a brilliant visionary director. I've learned so much when it comes to being an artist from him. And he said, and I remember working on that process, and he said, I encourage you to ask questions. Your value in the room, like, ask other. And I was like, wow. So this experience traumatized. And I was like, I'm literally asking you about across stage, and yet this other space is saying you are worthy to be here, and yes, ask all the questions. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. I'm like, there's so many stories and so many instances where I feel like people have not really people have misled artists into thinking that it is an open space, and it hasn't actually been an open space. And being in certain rooms and being told, yeah, I want you to make choices, I want you to, come to me with questions, and let's collaborate. And then you find out shortly after that it is not a collaboration. That
it's a dictatorship.
So I love that you've had an experience where it was actually a collaboration.
A collaboration. And early on, yes.
Yeah.
I think, again, one of those, I think it happened like 25. I was 25 the first one. And then the next one, I think that was 27, 28. And then, but again, knowing your 20s are your formative year, you don't know who the hell you are. But again, you having somebody who in an artistic space, having a dictatorship, and it's like, who am I? Who do I get to do? And it's like, it took me years. I think not into my early 30s when you hearing you today ask kind of pointed questions about. It's the work before you get to the room. You said, and when you enter into the space, not until like I hit like around about 30. I said, oh, this is who I am before I enter into this space, and I have value before I get here.
And I truthfully, I feel like that has been, since being on the other side of 30, I'm 35 now. Yeah. That has been the place that I've been able to operate from, and I feel so much more present in the room. I feel like I'm not holding on to stuff as much as I used to when I was in my 20s. I had a conversation this week about the tools that I use to kind of like let go of whatever happens in there. And it very much came from a class that I took, and the teacher saying to just find whatever works for you. But I essentially when we used to do paper sides, would take the sides after the audition, rip them up, and throw them in the trash. And just leave it there. And I'm like, this is where I'm leaving this. So I can go about my day, and whatever happens will happen, and I don't have to hold on to this. I don't have to carry this around with me all day.
You're reminding me to throw away my sides from yesterday.
So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
This has been amazing. Where can the folks find you?
Folks can find me on, you Google my name.
Yes.
You can find me on www.calvinmthompson.com. Also, my social media is Mr. Mr. Calley Cal, Mr. Cali Cal on Instagram. And those are my platforms.
I love it.
Platforms.
So before we go, I like to do this thing called the last three on Tea with TJ. 3 questions unrelated to the topic, just to give our folks a little bit of knowledge. So first question, where do you find the most peace?
God. But also God is, we were talking about it a little bit before. God to me does not look like the traditional sense. God to me looks like going on a hike and going upstate in the woods.
Yes.
Sitting by a lake.
Yeah.
God to me looks like sitting by the ocean and just listening to the waves. God to me looks like enjoying applesauce on a Friday night.
I love that.
Because that's one of my favorite foods. You know what I'm saying? It's like tapping into the things that is not necessarily anything based on a person or a space outside of me, but it's more so me finding those. I can at any time I can bring those feelings in those the what it's like to be. I could close my eyes and be in that space. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Where do you find joy in the world?
Community. I find joy in my friends, my family, my niece. I miss my niece. I find joy in music.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love it. And then last question, how do you practice gratitude?
How do I find
practice?
How do I practice gratitude? I just look to everything that is present. One, when I wake up in the morning and my feet hit the floor, I'm like, God, thank you to be here. And then I just start, if I can see it, and and also if I'm reminded of it, I'm just like, thank you. I don't. The scripture that speaks about having 1,000 tongues, you know, I don't think there's enough. I'm wording that wrong. I don't think that when you really look at abundance, the enormity of abundance of things, like even this time in this space right here, right now, there's so much to be grateful for. I've been so filled. Our cups have been filled in such a reciprocal way. So I it's just the present brings me gratitude. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for this. And with that, friends, I will see you next week.
And that's our show, friends. Thanks for joining us on Tea with TJ. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And you can find us on Instagram at Tea with TJ Podcast. And as always, stay kind, keep sipping, and remember, we're here, so we might as well do it.